Hi. Last video I introduced my Homelab and in particular a small upgrade I did. But this time I would like to show you what's actually used for. So here are some apps and features that are implemented in my Homelab. The main focus is this Proxmox cluster with two nodes and one third partial node that is used only for voting, having the majority. So you can see there the small rack that we built in the last video, where there is a think center, a small managed switch, some pass-through that will be used in the future, in particular for the Raspberry Pi 5 that you can see underneath. And on both sides of the Raspberry Pi 5, there are two Raspberry Pi Zeros. And I think they are mostly underrated for their capabilities. And on the side of the rack, you can see my main computer, where there is there is the real powerhouse. There is a Ryzen 9 7950X, 64 gigabyte of RAM, and the NVIDIA 3090. Of course, with 24 gigabyte of VRAM. More or less, it's everything there is inside that server. And it's mainly used for LLMs and AI image and video generation. Let's see one by one what's in my Proxmox cluster. First of all, I decided to simplify everything, having a completely separated VLAN inside the cluster, where all the services, containers, and VMs are. They are mainly accessible through the Cloudflare tunnel and Nginx proxy manager. So here you can see the gateway LXC, and in particular inside there is Nginx and Cloudflare. Then I have the real VLAN manager, that is this container with OpenWrt that connects to the main LAN of the Homelab, and then from there isolates all the other VMs and containers. And then here you can see there are the two nodes that are one mainly for backups, and it's in the think center, backups and NAS services. And of course, all these small services that I want to keep always on. So the gateway, for example. And on the other side, we have the other node that was the first one that I got. So I still have to finish some migrations, where we have a Portainer, and later we will see what manages. This is Portainer servers, while almost all the other containers and VMs have a Portainer agent inside to be centralized the management of all the Docker containers. We have some small containers that I installed just to try a few functionalities. And then one of the main, that is NA10, that I use for all the automations, and later we will see for what. A webhook container that actually holds inside only some Python scripts and Python server for small utilities, in particular to turn on and off some VMs inside the node. Here then we go to the two main VMs. One is with Windows 11 and DaVinci Resolve, because of course the computer we are visualizing everything on, it's an old Lenovo ThinkPad of 2017, so still powerful, but for some things it's better to use more powerful machines. And here there is the VM that I use the most, that is called LLMs, so gives a hint of what there is inside. In particular, there is Ubuntu with Llama C++ and Comfy UI for accordingly LLMs and video and image generation with AI. And last, and in this case also least interesting, is an instance of OpenClaw that I tried and I was not impressed. So probably I will delete it if I don't find more suitable use cases. So now let's go in the details. Here we have the first app, that is OpenWrt, where I go to separate the LAN with the VLAN only dedicated to the containers. And then here is probably the most interesting part for me, that is the Portainer server UI, where I have all the other installations of services in the other machines. From here you can see that I have all the local installations in the VMs and the containers, but also the installations, for example, in this one, it has the management of the Raspberry Pi Zeros, In particular, this one can control to turn on and off the main server and its containers. So it's a really power efficient way to be able to turn on and off your main computer. So here you can see, for example, what's inside the Raspberry Pi that I just said to turn on and off the main device. Here, for example, there is dcron, that is an utility to manage cron jobs and start scripts, Bash or Python. Together with this, I use upsnap that helps to turn on with Wake Online other devices. And so this is for the Raspberry Pi, the first one. And here is the second Raspberry Pi that has Octoprint that I use with my 3D printer that now is turned off, as well is controlled by a smart plug to be more power efficient. For the same reason, I'm using a Raspberry Pi Zero to save in energy while the 3D printer is off. Here we have instead the main use of the Sync Center, and so there is a Proxmox backup server where I manage, of course, the daily backups of the main server and all the other services. And then we can move forward to the most powerful machine, that is the one with the NVIDIA 3090. And it has Llama C++ also with its server functionalities to be using LLMs also by API. At the moment, I'm using two main models. One is Gemma 4 26 billion parameters, that is a vision thinking model. And then I'm using Qwen 3.6, the dense model with 27 billion parameters, as well vision thinking model. And speaking of AI, I use also Comfy UI, mainly with Qwen image editing, the 2511 version, that allows me to achieve Nano Banana Pro level kind of images completely locally. And the second one that I use the most is LTX 2.3 video generation, in particular the image to video. That is a multimodal model that has also audio and video generation in it, so it better manage the audio space of the generation. All these utilities are then used in particular in NA10, where I created some workflows for managing the creation of posts and videos for, in particular, Instagram and Facebook to promote my business. And speaking of business, another utility that I use a lot is Plane, that is a software used to manage projects. With this, that's it. And I would like to talk with you about the future of this channel and understand it together what we want to focus on. I didn't put many rules about these channels. Mainly is whatever I like to do, I will do it. And I will show it with you. But I decided to put 2-3 small challenges. One is that I will try to not put any money in the setup, and using mainly what I can recover selling things on Vinted that I produced myself in the Homelab, for example, with the 3D printing. And on the other side, whatever revenues this channel will have will be mainly used to upgrade the Homelab, and in particular to do new projects following your suggestions. And all the other videos that are more impromptu will be just following what I have in my mind, and they will not be strictly using the budget that I mentioned. So with this, I hope you enjoyed this small overview, and I hope to see you in the next few videos. And I'm hoping to have your feedbacks to understand what you would like to see in them.